Our referee for the co-main event, and Sophie Cunningham, Indiana Fever guard in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark's on-court enforcer, handling the octagon card.
Sophie Cunningham walked into a UFC octagon on Saturday night in Las Vegas and pointed at 50,000 people. The same finger, the same stare, the same energy that stopped DeWanna Bonner cold in the middle of a WNBA game in June. Except this time, the crowd was not a few thousand Clark fans in Indianapolis. This was UFC 329. McGregor weekend. The biggest fight crowd of the year. Paddy Pimblett versus BSD on the co-main event card. And Dana White's organization looked at every celebrity, every athlete, every entertainer available in Las Vegas on Saturday night, and decided that the person who should walk the octagon before that fight was an Indiana Fever guard who a few months ago most of the sports world had never heard of. Sophie Cunningham did not just show up at UFC 329, she owned it. And every single person who spent this season targeting her team, mocking her team, and betting against her team just watched it happen from the outside. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications right now, because what Sophie did on Saturday night is bigger than a UFC appearance. It is the moment the sports world fully woke up to what this Indiana Fever team has become. Here is how this moment actually happened. The Fever had the night off before Sunday's game against the Las Vegas Aces, the same Aces whose coach said before Indiana beat them that had it been a playoff game, Wilson most likely would have played. Sophie had free time in Las Vegas, and instead of sitting in a hotel room, she walked into T-Mobile Arena, the same building where the Fever just beat the defending champions, and became the most talked about person in the building without throwing a single punch. She wore all black, not the traditional ring girl outfit, her own look, her own energy. She walked the octagon with the card held high, and then she did it. She turned to the crowd, extended the finger, held the stare, and 50,000 UFC fans who came to watch the biggest fight card of the year completely lost their minds for a WNBA player from Indiana. That moment did not come from nowhere. This is the same finger point that started with DeWanna Bonner in June. Bonner, the former Fever player who left without texting a single teammate goodbye, got into it with Clark on the court. Sophie stepped in. Sophie pointed. The footage went everywhere. And what started as an enforcer protecting her teammate in a WNBA game became one of the most viral sports moments of 2026. John Cena posted it. Brands used it. The White House joined the trend. And Dana White, the most powerful figure in combat sports, was spotted wearing a Sophie Cunningham shirt during a UFC promo earlier this year. That is how you end up walking the octagon at UFC 329 on McGregor weekend. Not by asking for the spotlight, by earning it one finger point at a time. Now let's talk about who is watching all of this happen. Because the hater meltdown your title promises is real, and it is happening right now. Start with Alyssa Thomas. The same Alyssa Thomas who put a fist into Caitlin Clark's neck and got one game off, who came back and drove an elbow into Lexi Hull's face, whose GM defended her publicly, whose team tweeted a video of someone on the ground asking if you want a piece of this. That Alyssa Thomas is sitting somewhere right now watching Sophie Cunningham get introduced to 50,000 UFC fans as the Indiana Fever's most recognizable face outside of Clark. The same Sophie who went on her podcast and said Thomas and her team are definitely targeting Clark and the league does nothing about it. The same Sophie who stepped into Thomas's face when Hull went down. That Sophie just became a pop culture icon in the building Thomas's own team plays their home games in. Then there is Angel Reese, the player who has spent all season positioning herself as Clark's rival and the WNBA's alternative star, who has had the league's marketing machine behind her, who got the features, the magazine covers, the crossover attention that the WNBA was supposed to be building around Clark. On Saturday night, Sophie Cunningham walked into a UFC octagon and got a louder reaction from a mainstream sports crowd than anything Reese has generated all season. Not because Sophie went looking for it, because the moment she created defending Clark in June, that finger point on Bonner was so genuine and so specific and so perfectly timed that it took on a life of its own and followed her all the way to McGregor weekend in Las Vegas. And then there is the broader group of people who spent this entire season betting that the Indiana Fever drama would swallow this team alive. The commentators who said Clark was a diva. The insiders who said the locker room was broken. The organization figures who went on panels about weeding out players who do not fit the culture. The players' union that respectfully declined to comment on whether a fist to the throat is punishable. All of them are watching Sophie Cunningham hold a UFC round card above her head at T-Mobile Arena, while clips of her viral finger point are being mixed with fight footage and spreading across every platform that matters in sports. This is not the team they described. This is not what a broken locker room looks like. Here is the thing about Sophie's rise that makes it impossible to separate from Clark. Every single moment that made Sophie famous happened because of Clark. The going rogue buzzer beater pass, that was for Clark. The Instagram meme, that was about protecting Clark. The podcast appearance where she called out the league for doing nothing, that was defending Clark. The finger point on Bonner, that started because Bonner got physical near Clark. Sophie Cunningham's entire crossover cultural moment exists because she chose to fight for her teammate when the organization would not. When the league would not. When the players' union would not. Sophie fought for Clark. The sports world noticed, and now Dana White is putting her in an octagon on the biggest fight weekend of the year. Patty won by submission in the first round. The fight was over fast. But Sophie's moment in that octagon lasted longer than the fight in terms of what people were talking about afterward. The clips of her walking the ring. The clips of the finger point. The crowd reaction. All of it spreading faster than any WNBA clip spreads on a normal Saturday night. Because this was not a normal Saturday night. This was Sophie Cunningham on McGregor weekend becoming the crossover athlete that the WNBA's marketing machine spent all season pretending was someone else. Clark is coming back. She is expected to return soon after the All-Star break. And the team she is coming back to just had their enforcer go viral at UFC 329 on a night off. The team that has been written off, talked down to, dismissed by a defending champion's coach, targeted by a player who got one game for a fist to the neck. That team spent Saturday night taking over a UFC event in Las Vegas. Clark is returning to a roster that out-rebounded the defending champions and won in Las Vegas for the first time in franchise history. To an enforcer who just finger-pointed at 50,000 combat sports fans and made them lose their minds. To a season that started with organizational drama and trade rumors and empty arenas and is somehow ending with the Indiana Fever becoming the most talked-about team in American sports. Thomas targeted Clark. Reese positioned herself as the alternative. The organization spent months building a case against their own franchise player. And Sophie Cunningham spent her night off walking an octagon at UFC 329 while the whole sports world pointed back at her. The haters picked the wrong team to bet against. They always do. What do you think? Is Sophie Cunningham becoming the most popular player in the WNBA? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because Clark's return is coming and this team is built different than anything we have seen before. We will see you in the next one.